Okay, so after a long winter slumber and a nice, ordinary breakfast of plain toast with pomegranate water mix, I not only noticed that I was over 2 weeks behind the scheduled release of Mr. Pickles Season 4, but also, as you could have guessed by the title of this video, they killed the motherfucker. Now I know you may be thinking, it's not really a big deal. But I'm surprised no one has really covered this yet. Like, besides for a few comments and a few Reddit posts, I mean, like, it's a pretty big show. Maybe not South Park or Family Guy level, but it definitely has a pretty decently sized community around it. Although some of the community, there are the good, then there's the bad, then there's the yeah. Okay, listen, I'm not here to bash Adult Swim or any of the creators of the show. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm some like obsessed fanboy or something, but it's a show I like to watch with my friends. It's really funny and it's just funny that no one's really talking about this at all. Um and I this video is pretty much just about confirming that Mr. Pickles is really truly dead. Now, I kind of thought this was gonna be one of the last seasons anyway. I didn't think I didn't think this show was gonna be a over 10 season franchise with no more ideas left and boring, lazy, unfunny writing. But also, they had that big climactic finish at the end of season 3 between Grandpa and Mr. Pickles, and that set up a lot of cool ideas for what season 4 could have been. But with this past episode, every idea, every cool thing they had, they threw right away. And that's all I can say about it. I'm really disappointed. They killed Mr. Pickles for a sheriff spinoff, in what I can only assume is a Mrs. Pickles side story. This is. I just feel like this is really unnecessary, because Sheriff already had an episode going into what he does for a living. But he's also just a side character. There's not really a lot of material to go off of. Whenever Mr. Pickles killed someone or whenever Grandpa called the police, he showed up, said something stupid about Mr. Pickles being a good boy, and left. That was really the only role he had. I don't think Sheriff is right for a spin-off anyway, let alone 5 episodes of that show at the time of this recording. He has nothing interesting going on in his life besides his doll Abigail, and he still lives with his mom. I did in fact watch the first episode of Mama Named Me Sheriff called Hats, and it was boring. It's like, I guess in a poetic sense, it felt like an empty shell of the series. In my opinion, all of the crazy things that go on in this series and all the things about this world all come and revolve around Mr. Pickles. Now, I'm not saying Mama Made Me Sheriff is a bad show or anything, but the whole story was about Mr. Pickles and Tommy. It followed a cripple kid with his demonic dog that killed people. That's it. All the characters were designed to react to the chaos Mr. Pickles and Tommy caused. They were stupid because that's the world they were in. That's how the comedy landed. It made more sense for characters to be in a stupid situation if they themselves were stupid. The show did have a really good supporting cast. The higher characters like Bigfoot, Grandpa, Sheriff, etc., all of them. But they all reacted to whatever Mr. Pickles and Tommy did. Mr. Pickles shoved a stick up someone's ass, and if anyone remembers that part where he was like, "Oh, my butthole," and fell over, that's the comedy. That's what made the show great. This new comedy, and again, it's not bad, but what made the show so funny was Mr. Pickles and Tommy. And now that Mr. Pickles is gone, it's just, it's not going to be the same. It's going to feel empty and weird, at least in my opinion. Now, I could go on for another 2.5 hours about all the things that are wrong here, but now on to the evidence to show you that he is probably very fucking dead. So this first picture of Mr. Pickles comes out on November 17th, and it reads, Mr. Pickles returns to your screens tonight at midnight Eastern Time on Adult Swim. And again, this is just teasing. It's coming out that night. But I might just be looking too deep into this, but you can see, obviously, Sheriff is stitched with Mr. Pickles, which I kind of believe might be the first sign of the show shifting to him. Then, a day later, the episode's out, everyone's seen it, everybody knows what happens, and this gets posted on the 18th. Rip Mr. Pickles, 9/21/14 to 11/17/19. And this is pretty much saying, rest in peace, Mr. Pickles. You're dead. And here's another one that was posted on the 18th. It reads, Mr. Pickles is really dead. Sheriff is still here. Catch new episodes of Mama Named Me Sheriff on Sundays at midnight at Adult Swim. Now, again, a day later, on the 19th, there's a picture of Mr. Pickles. He's happy with his tongue hanging out. You know, he looks normal. His neck's a little bit long, but then underneath it says swipe. What happens when you swipe it? Look at that. Rip Mr. Pickles. His head is off, and there's even a hashtag Mr. Pickles in the bottom there. So that's just something else for you. On the 21st, this one's posted. It reads, There's the same sheriff in town, and it's Sheriff holding a piece of paper saying, It's my show now. And I'm assuming that's, again, pretty much confirming that Mr. Pickles is dead. 3 days later, on the 24th, this one comes out saying, Next time you think about bowling, just remember boners. And boners is bullying others never ends right. C. I believe that's the last one. This picture doesn't show it. But so this may be for the backlash, or the little there was besides texts. I believe mine might be one of the only videos out right now about this. So I don't know if this is not about that. But I'm pretty sure it is. Then call me out, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And this final post is probably what I think the one that confirms it the most. The big screw you to all the fans in a way that Mr. Pickles is gone. And I'm about to read it now. So, here it is. Rest in peace, Mr. Pickles, the goodest boy there ever was. There have been many evil dogs dating back to Gunther. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher all these big names. The first evil dog from the ancient city of Pandathra Throgaganagrox. Sorry, I don't know what the hell that says. And Mr. Pickles will not be the last. Mr. Pickles has died, but his puppy, Mrs. Pickles, lives on. They're confirming that the puppy being birthed was not Mr. Pickles, but his daughter. The first episode of Season 4 was in fact the last episode of Mr. Pickles, but the show continues with Sheriff, the Goodmans, and the rest of Old Town in Mama Named Me Sheriff. Sundays at midnight on Adult Swim. Hashtag Mr. Pickles. And there we have it. With all the evidence and all the stuff I read, I can confirm that Mr. Pickles is dead. And he's probably not coming back, at least for a while. Before I wrap up the video, I do have a few final thoughts. My one biggest complaint out of all this is how they handled it. The way they're just kind of flipping it. Like, this was the last episode of Mr. Pickles, so that says. So why didn't they handle it like it? It we waited what, a year and a half for this to start. A year and a half, we get the new episode or the teaser for it. One episode, it's as long as all the others, it's 11 minutes, and they kill him. They didn't. They just treated it normally, like it was a normal thing that would happen. And I feel like it was just very underwhelming. Because, again, season 3, the finale of that set up some pretty cool stuff that could have happened. Like, maybe, I don't want to say an all out war, but something between Mr. Pickles and Grandpa. He was on the run from Sheriff, and now Mr. Pickles framed him for murder. That would have been a really, really cool thing about Grandpa on the run and Mr. Pickles trying to hunt him, and he's hunting Mr. Pickles, and so on and so forth. So, they handled it wrong, and the way they're just replacing it, I think, is dumb. So, if there's anything you want to say about the series and the finale of Mr. Pickles, then go ahead in the comments, give me your thoughts. But he's fucking dead, and they handled it wrong, like a normal episode, and it seems that no one's really talking about it. But again, this is all my opinion. This is how I look at the franchise and how I think of the series. So that's it. So leave your thoughts and questions or whatever in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.